we thought we'd talk to you today about some of the different things that we've noticed here in Mexico, especially with regards to sidewalks. Now, you can be walking along and there will be almost constant elevation changes in sidewalks, so you really have to be looking down almost all of the time, which is can be difficult to do because you're looking it up at some of the beautiful sights in Mexico, you know, the buildings and what have you. But you also need to be aware that, you know, there are a lot of tree roots here that uproot the sidewalks. A lot of people install driveways over the top of existing sidewalks and things like that. So it's really a hazard not to be looking down almost all of the time.
Yeah, and then sometimes if you don't look down, or if you are looking down, you need to be careful because there might be a pole or something that you're going to bonk your head on and need some Excedrin for that. So
now I'm pretty clumsy, so I expect I'm going to be the first one of the two of us to do that.
Yeah, where we live, there's a pharmacy and there's a pole as you come around the corner, which can be kind of dangerous. And then I think right after that, the sidewalk is uneven too.
Yeah. Next up, we're going to talk about the curbs here in Mexico. Now, you can be, you know, walking along and when you cross the street, you come up to a curb. Sometimes that curb stands a foot and a half off of the ground, so it can be quite a step up to get to the top of that curb.
And a step down.
And a step down, exactly. And when you're driving, the curbs can be sharp, so when you're going around the corner, you really got to be careful not to, you know, hit your tire on a curb or something like that.
Like I've done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're one-way streets. There's a lot of one-way streets in Mexico too, and I mean they're pretty narrow. I would say they're very narrow streets, and so when you come up, I'm not the best driver anyhow. I mean, I am on open roads. Give me some big highways and stuff like that, and that's all good. But these narrow streets where you come to the corner and then you turn, I ran over 2 curbs so far.
Yeah,
not the real high ones. I did that in Mazatlan, and I did that here in Morelia.
Right. Some of that's because the curbs stick away out and you have to make a really sharp turn. And a lot of the times the curbs are actually lined in metal. And also I've noticed that a lot of the curbs are painted yellow, which in the United States means you know shouldn't be parking there or shouldn't be parking there very long. However, in Mexico it seems to mean something else because people park there all day. So I'm not quite sure what yellow curbs in Mexico mean.
Yeah, like Mark said, we haven't quite figured that out yet. Parking is really hard to find in Mexico, and I'm not very good at parallel parking either. And I tell you what, these people that parallel park,
in
they do such a great job.
Yeah, they get within like an inch of the curb.
Yeah,
I kid you not.
It's incredible.
It's fantastic.
It's incredible. But you know, the sidewalks is just, I mean, I really have to take a huge leap. Mark's 6'5", I'm like 5'5", 5'6", I'm hanging on to. They said I shrunk an inch, but we won't go there. But you know, it's a big leap that you're taking, and then it's a big leap that you're taking down. You know, you can go a little bit further if you follow the sidewalk around. There's usually a flat area if you want to do that. I mean, we've done that sometimes, not all the time, but for the most part, when you do come to a corner, they vary in size, and most of them that I've experienced along historical Morelia are pretty darn high.
Right, and there isn't a lot of handicapped accessibility on some of these curbs too, so
that's true.
If people are in a wheelchair, that could be difficult, I would imagine.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, the other thing that we're going to talk about is one-way streets. There are a lot of one-way streets that we've noticed in Mexico. I do most of the driving, so twice now I have gone down the wrong way. Luckily, it hasn't been an issue. There's been like 2 cars or something, and the other day when we were going to Walmart, actually, because if you're not familiar with where you're driving, it's hard to really know. And so we were unfamiliar with where we were driving, and it was hard to know. And I didn't know whether we were supposed to turn left or kind of go straight on the left. And so I started to turn left, and that was a one-way street, and they were all stopped there. So luckily I had time to correct my mistake, and it's not a problem.
And then the difficult thing can be is that a lot of times you'll look down a one-way street and there'll be cars parked the opposite direction. So that's the direction that the cars are parked are not always an indicator of the direction of travel on that street.
Right, right. And they do that a lot on one-way streets. They're parking both directions. So normally, if I wasn't sure if it was a one-way street and it wasn't marked, I could look by the direction of the cars, but not here. They go both directions.
Yep.
So, and you know, sometimes the corners are marked for one way, sometimes they're not.
Sometimes they're not.
Yeah, so it's really hard to know. Okay, the other thing that we're going to talk about is in parking lots, you usually have people there. I don't think that they work for the stores or anything like that. And what they do is that they help you back out your car. And so they're there all the time. I mean, like, we went to Walmart the other day, they were there. Sam's, they were there. Costco, they were there. Everywhere they seem to be there. And so we usually give them like 5 or 10 pesos, which is like a quarter or 50 cents. If they help us with our bags, like they did the other day, we gave them, 10 pesos, which is 50 cents. But it's just a kind of a different thing here, different culture on, people doing stuff like that in parking lots.
Yeah, and a lot of times they'll like stop oncoming traffic for you so that you can back out, and then they'll probably direct the next car into the spot you just left. But, on the other hand, these are people just trying to make a living
Exactly.
too, trying to get by in life. So
we don't mind.
Small tip isn't bad.
Yeah, so we don't mind at all. I mean, could we back up on our own? Of course we could. We've been doing it our whole lives, but they're out here trying to make a living, and that's what they do, and they're standing out there all day. So, why not to give them 5 or 10 pesos? That's how I look at it. Okay, another area that we're going to talk about that we've learned in Mexico is tomorrow isn't always tomorrow. So, like, if our landlord said he's going to come by and he's going to fix something tomorrow, that could be a couple of days, it could be a week, it could be a couple of weeks. So I think a lot of times they mean well when they say tomorrow, but as far as you taking somebody's word on tomorrow, don't do that, because you'll be really, really disappointed every time. Okay, when we rented our apartment, it came with a 2-in-1 washer-dryer unit, which is kind of cool. They're very, very, very small. You can't get much in them at all, like maybe a bottom sheet and 2 pillowcases. There's not a whole lot of room in them. But anyhow, there's different settings on them, and you can either wash like for 30 minutes and then you can hang your clothes, or you can go ahead and put it on the wash and the dry for like an hour and 45 minutes. But the thing that I've noticed is there's no dry. So like, let's say I took something out ahead of time, or I thought it was dry and it's not, and I want to put it back in. I can't find a setting where I can just dry something. It's impossible. So I usually have to hang it up on my line at that point and wait a couple of days for it to dry.
The other thing that we've noticed about Mexico is it is very family oriented. You have activities for kids all over the place, one of which is behind me. This is like a permanent carnival that's always here. But you see them a lot in plazas too. You also see families out with their kids well into the evening, the kids running around having a good time. Something like you don't typically see in the United States, unfortunately, anymore.
No, no, and that's one thing about Mexico. It is very family oriented. I mean, you'll see families out there 9, 10 o'clock at night with their kids, and there's a lot of vendors that sell kid toys or balloons that light up, or just a lot of kid stuff. You know, and so they'll be pulling their pull toy that mom and dad just bought them or something like that, or you know, like bubbles, like they'll have those bubbles that you blow.
Yeah.
But yeah, very family oriented. You don't see that at all in the United States. I mean, there's not a whole lot of parks that are so family oriented where they stay out at night, unless you have like a family reunion or a birthday party or something like that. But then they're usually out of there before dusk hits.
Yeah.
But not here. I mean,
Yeah.
you see it during the day that they're out, and you see it also throughout the night. I mean, we've seen it as late as 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. Families still out there with their kids having a good time in a